What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. Today, we're going to talk about some not so very good players in the NFL. Yesterday's video was about some breakout stars that we had this season. Well, with breakout stars come those who let us down. And today's video is going to be just that. We're going to identify 5 busts from the 2020 NFL season. All that and much more coming your way right now. All right, Nick. Well, like I said in the intro, we are at the time where we brought everybody up, and now it's time to bring everyone back down.
Yeah.
And listen, it was very hard to narrow down the breakout stars. It was pretty easy to finger point at the people that we thought were busts this year, and there weren't a whole hell of a lot of them, which is a really good sign. Especially with the everything that happened, it was tough and players were moving all around, but there were definitely 5 players that caught our eye. So why don't you get us started with number 5?
Yeah, there were some players that truly showed up as busts this season, and it all starts off with Vic Beasley. And a lot of you being like, well, I don't remember Vic Beasley playing. Yeah, no one does, because this man spent most of the season bouncing around trying to land on a team. He was signed to the Tennessee Titans last offseason rather, and he really didn't do anything. He played 5 games for the Tennessee Titans before being released and eventually making his way to the Raiders, where he played 5 games as well. In 10 games total, he had 1 forced fumble and 4 tackles. He had 4 tackles. In 10 games, 4 tackles as an edge rusher. 4 tackles. Yeah, I mean, this is an abomination. A guy who was paid a ton of money to play one of the most important positions on the field. He completely fell apart. He just said, "Hey, I got paid. Time to stop playing. Why work? They're paying me. I'm getting this money no matter what."
Well, Vic Beasley was one of those guys that we thought we thought his lack of production might have just been the scheme that they were running in Tennessee. Maybe it's not what he's used to, where he was so dominant in Atlanta. And then he bounced around a couple other teams because he couldn't even pass a physical. And then it started to come out from Tennessee that he was a nuisance in the locker room. He was trying to divide the players against the coaches, and he didn't show up to practice on time or at all sometimes, and he just kind of did whatever he wanted whenever he felt like it. And if anybody knows Mike Vrabel the way we know Mike Vrabel, that ain't gonna fly. So Vic Beasley was soon out and gone, and then trying to find a team, he was out of shape. He couldn't pass a physical, which is pretty sad, if you ask me, for a professional athlete to not be able to pass their physical. So he finally was able to do so. He landed with the Raiders and still did nothing. It's unfortunate that this is the situation that we're in, but I hope this was a big learning lesson for Vic Beasley, and I hope to see him on the other list next year. But as of right now, he ends up as number 5 on our top 5 busts of 2020. So then for number 4, it's a guy that everybody is all too familiar with, who was on the other list just a couple of years ago. That would be Nick Foles. Quarterback Nick Foles for the Chicago Bears. The Bears traded for Nick Foles after he signed that contract. He was looking great. He looked like he was going to take over from Mitchell Trubisky, and he did just that. Mitchell Trubisky wasn't doing too bad, but you know what? They thought that they could get more production at the quarterback position. So in comes Nick Foles. Well, Nick Foles tanked any offense that they had in Chicago to the point where he made 7 starts. He passed for 1,852 yards. Not bad. 10 touchdowns, but 8 interceptions. 10 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That's almost Jameis Winston level that we're looking at right now. And he had 16 rushes for 1 rush yard. 16 for 1 yard and a touchdown. I just don't understand it. But Nick Foles, it makes it onto this list. His lack of production stymied the Chicago Bears. I truly believe that Nick Foles is the worst part of this Bears offense, and they need to move on from him going forward.
Yeah, without a doubt. If it weren't for them taking Mitch Trubisky and placing him back as the starter, this team would not have made the playoffs. They would not have had that shot. I think that Mitch Trubisky ended up being the saving grace for this team because Nick Foles was so much worse than him. Nick Foles, he just couldn't put it together. He just was missing plays. He couldn't go through reads. He was getting pressured in the pocket and didn't know what to deal with it. At least Mitch Trubisky can flush out of the pocket and extend plays with his feet. That's what helped him out. But Nick Foles doesn't have that. He's too immobile and relies too much on his arm. And he couldn't put it all together as a Chicago Bear in that system. I think that Nick Foles can rebound. We've seen him work well in the past, but I think that Nick Foles clearly is not working out with the Chicago Bears and is going to have to find another home to try to figure this stuff out. Another guy that he took over for in that Super Bowl year, a guy that got hurt, Carson Wentz at number 3. I mean, he had an okay year, but I mean, he had in 12 starts, throwing 57.4% completion percentage. That's pretty bad. 2,620 yards. That's pretty bad. 16 touchdowns, not that much, to 15 interceptions. I mean, you're talking about Jameis Winston level. He's right there with Nick Foles also. Then 276 rush yards, okay. You know, I mean, that's something Nick Foles doesn't have. 5 rushing touchdowns and 10 fumbles lost. Carson Wentz absolutely struggled this season, and I know that team was completely broken. They were missing everybody on that offensive side of the ball. And Carson Wentz just couldn't make plays. He couldn't figure it out. I think that he just got broken after a while because he was being sacked constantly. I mean, how many games did he play in where he was sacked 5+ times? That gets to a quarterback over after a while, and that takes a beating on them mentally. So I think Carson Wentz had a bad year. He definitely did not show up as he did a few years ago when we were looking at him as the potential MVP. But I think Carson Wentz has what it takes to bounce back. He can definitely bounce back a lot better than Nick Foles. He's much younger. They just got a brand new head coach, offensive coordinator from the Colts, who has been coaching under Frank Reich, teaching the same system that where Carson Wentz thrived. So I think Carson Wentz will be able to turn this thing around.
Yeah, listen, Carson Wentz, he got pretty beaten up, but he's been beaten up every single year that he's been in Philadelphia. Sometimes a player just needs a change of scenery, and I truly believe that for Carson Wentz to succeed in this league, he's going to need a change of scenery. I believe that the Eagles are going to move forward with Jalen Hurts at the quarterback position. We can debate that another time, but as of right now, I think Carson Wentz really needs to find a home somewhere else. He needs to be able to rely on an offensive line for the first time in his career, because just makeshifting offensive lines and putting different patches on it is not going to get the job done. I mean, you can have Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson all you want, but you have Jason Peters, who was off the team, then back on the team, and then he asked for more money because they wanted him to move to left tackle in an emergency, and then he still did terribly. So it's just, there's a lot of moving pieces with these Eagles, but Carson Wentz, he should be able to bounce back, and hopefully he can. One player that I've been particularly negative on pretty much since the day that the Patriots drafted him, Nikhil Harry. I can't stand the man. I mean, his play he's a nice enough guy, and I have no ill will toward the person, but the player, he can't gain separation. He doesn't threaten anybody with his speed. His route running is abysmal at best, and I'm pretty sure he has bricks for hands. So if that's your perfect wide receiver, then I don't want to be anywhere near your franchise. So Nikhil Harry is just one of those guys where listen, I am at the breaking point with him. I need him off the team because he's more of a detriment on the field than he is when he's off the team. So, just looking at some of these numbers, he had 33 receptions on 57 targets. 33 of 57 for 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, you can say, Mike, he had that weirdo at quarterback, Cam Newton. Yeah, the guy who couldn't throw a ball. Yeah, I understand that. But when if you watch any film at all, just put any on, and you see Nikhil Harry right in the chest drops it. It's like watching a high school football team. They just cannot catch the balls that are thrown to them. And Nikhil Harry, I'm sorry to say, he is not. He might benefit from one of these changes of scenery, but he is not going to be one of the players that ends up on, the breakout stars list anytime soon. His skill set is diluted in the NFL, and the old Des Bryant way of playing wide receiver is gone, up and gone. You need people that are more versatile, like Justin Jefferson.
That's a heavy load you just put on Nikhil Harry. I mean, I think you're a little harsh on the guy. I still believe Nikhil Harry has what it takes to be a solid wide receiver in the NFL. And as a Patriots fan, I still want him on the team. I think that there's something to work with. As you mentioned, he had a guy throwing him the ball that just wasn't good. Straight up wasn't good. Nikhil Harry, he did have some bad plays, and that's why he's on this list. I mean, I can remember one in particular where he caught the ball, but then caused a touchback by extending for the pylon, similar to Rashard Higgins did in the postseason. I mean,
Damn.
the Nikhil
Damn,
Harry,
Cleveland Browns fans. Damn.
Nikhil Harry had his downs this past year, but he also proved a lot because he got better from year one. I think he's struggling to pick up the system, and I think he's starting to come around and work through those issues. So I think Nikhil Harry, once the Patriots actually get him a quarterback that knows how to throw the ball, he'll be able to do something and really contribute to this team. So Nikhil Harry,
who was Nikhil Harry's quarterback before Cam Newton?
I just don't know. No, obviously it was Tom Brady, but
So a quarterback that can throw the ball, huh?
a quarterback that doesn't trust rookie wide receivers. Yes.
But a quarterback that can throw the ball. Interesting.
And anyway, Nikhil Harry showed improvement from year one to year two, and I'm going to expect him to improve from year two to year three. And that's what it's going to take for him to stay on this team. Otherwise, like you said, he'll be looking for a new one. I think the guy that we can all agree on, not just you and me, Mike, but everybody watching, we can all agree that there was one person in particular that had the worst year out of everybody, who was the biggest bust. Cam Newton. This was such a sad story. We were all hoping Cam Newton would return back to MVP form. The Patriots go from one MVP to another, and Cam Newton in 15 starts, 368 attempts, not even completed passes, attempts,
Right.
65.8 completion percentage, which is not bad, but on that amount of attempts, I mean, what is that? 2,657 pass yards, 8 passing touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. He did rush for 592 yards and 12 rushing touchdowns, but how good is an offense if your quarterback can't pass? I mean, go look at the Baltimore Ravens.
I was gonna say he is these are Lamar Jackson.
This is what I expect Lamar Jackson to look like when he's 40 years old. But Cam Newton is nowhere near 40. He's had the shoulder issues in the past. He's had the back issues. I think his injuries have just caught up with him, and I really don't see Cam Newton returning back to his MVP form, like he was in 2015. Cam Newton, his prime is behind him. His best days are long gone. And it's sad to say because I really like the guy, and I wish him all the best moving forward. But I am sure I am very happy that Cam Newton is no longer a New England Patriot.
Yeah, I mean, I wish the best for Cam. I think that he was never one that had to rely on accuracy. He relied on sheer athletic ability, and his lack of precision passing and his lack of ability to get the ball into tight windows on a consistent basis, it came back to bite him in this situation. I mean, the shoulder is clearly not where it needs to be, and whether it's Josh McDaniel's system or whatever the case is, I liked Cam Newton, the player, on the field. I think he was a great leader. He is one of the most stand up guys that you can ask for in the locker room. An incredible person, but on the field you need to be able to back up all that leadership and everything else with the play you put out there, and he was just not able to do that. I mean, it's great and all that he was voted captain, but if that's the captain of your team throwing like that, or not even throwing at all sometimes, that, I mean, what are we even talking about here? So I think Cam Newton definitely deserves to be number one bust on this list. All right, that'll do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. Say it with me. Every
Every
single
single day.
day.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow.
All right, that'll do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Peace and love.